think we are live. Are we live? This is our first time using this platform, so please let us know in the chat if we are live or if I'm like being weird. I'm going to multi-stream this to Facebook. So that is what I'm doing now. Is everyone just gonna like not let us know that it's live?
Tell us in the chat. Can you hear us?
Yay! Okay, great. I mean, it could be like a really like hilarious thing where you're watching a live thing and you just don't let them know that you can hear them. Okay, I'm just adding us there. Preview. Okay. Okay. So this is really interesting. So I'm trying to connect it to Facebook, but it looks like it's just showing me, which is suboptimal.
I wonder if when you make me full screen, if it will switch to me.
Let's have a look. Thanks for bearing with us, guys. No, oh, great. It's just showing me.
Oh.
Invite friends. No, it's in that. Okay. I'm not working it. Sound is not working. Okay, so it's good for Mila. Lily and everyone who can't hear us, Courtney, maybe restart and turn the sound up and see if that works. Okay, so everyone else can hear us, so that is a good sign. So we will get started. We need like a fancy screen that says, "We'll be with you shortly."
Yeah. You can whip one of those up.
Not like right now.
No, but you know, for next time.
Okay. Well, we can get started then. So if you don't know, I am Kaylee and I am one of the co-founders of GameAC along with Lauren Hooper. And this is Messy Conversations. This is a monthly, this time around, artist interview series. We did it back in 2016 and it was really awesome, but we did not do it live. So this time around, we're going to be doing it live. So that means that you can chat with the artist in real time. And yeah, so it's a little bit like more intimidating because, for example, I'm not preparing any of these. I don't want to do all of that. I want to like really focus on the artist. But yeah, I'm super excited. Today, we are going to be chatting to Misty Granade. And besides her awesome name, she's a really awesome artist and a really awesome human. And I was sharing on Instagram. She's so awesome that, you know, we hired her. So we were like, okay, Misty, we can't let you leave us. We need you to stay. Like, please stay. So I'm very excited to talk to her because her art is beautiful. She's a lovely human being. And I'm pretty sure you know her already. But if you don't, by the end of this, you're going to love her too. So yeah, welcome, Misty.
Hi.
So just bear with us today because this is new technology for us. It is freaking awesome though. Like things are going pretty well tech-wise. That never happens. But I'm going to be like fiddling around because there's just like so much stuff that we can do on this. So just, yeah, bear with us.
I know, I had to close the chat window because I kept trying to read and
I'm
not
so
pay
distracted.
My people are talking, I have to talk.
So you see, like we can be fancy and have both of us.
Can we put our heads together?
Oh no, we can do it like
Go
that.
Like
like
go the other way. Go the other way.
On my screen we are the other way around, so that's quite
Oh,
funny.
okay. You're good. No, do it this way.
I thought we're trying to like make one human. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, Essie is here. I'm so glad you're here, Essie. Essie's in the hospital at the moment. I hope this cheers you up a bit, if only to laugh at us
Yes.
being a bit of idiots. A bit of idiots. Okay, so as you can tell, this is very, very casual. Yay. Okay, well, let's get started with chatting to Misty and figuring out more about what makes her tick as an artist. So, Misty, I think it'll be great if you can start by introducing yourself, telling everyone who you are, what kind of art you make, what you do at GMAC,
Okay.
whatever you want to say.
My name is Misty Granade, and I live in Alabama in the United States, which some of you know where that is, and some of you are like, oh, really? Okay. But we and when we first moved here, there wasn't a whole lot of an art scene, but we have been very fortunate in that there's a huge arts and entertainment complex here now called Low Mill, and I actually had a show there last fall, which was really exciting for me and sort of a personal dream that got realized. It was a neat time. I started making art. Well, I've always made art, but I started again as an adult when my daughter went to kindergarten, and that was about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And I wanted to call myself an artist. And when you want to call yourself an artist, but you don't have any art, you're like, well, yeah, sure, I'm a wannabe artist. And I thought, well, okay, what is the barrier here? And the barrier was, if I'm going to be an artist, I have to have work. And I was like, okay, how do I make work? And so I got a book for Christmas. This book right here, actually. It's Noah Scalen's Daily Creative Journal, 365, make something every day. And it's really funny because it's kind of a diary that you're supposed to work in, which I have done nothing in, nothing. But what this book really showed me was that people took on 365-day projects and just worked through their thing every day for a year. And I thought, well, okay, what does that look like for me? I'll do 20 minutes. I'll do 20 minutes and do whatever. It doesn't matter because I'm practicing and I don't know what I want to do. And I'll do 20 minutes and post a picture on the internet, and that will be what I do. So I started that in 2013 with my 20 minutes a day project and have cataloged it in a couple of different ways. I had an old website that some of it is on. And then, of course, Instagram came around, so I started doing Instagram, and now I have my own personal website where I keep my stuff. So it's kind of scattered across a couple of platforms now, but you can go back and look at all of my old work where I started with 20 minutes a day. And the big thing for me was just showing up every day, just showing up. And I'm fortunate that I don't work outside my house, so I could make an arrangement to show up every day. But 20 minutes is, not outside the realm of possibility for most people. If you can squeeze in maybe 20 minutes early in the day or, 20 minutes after your kid's bath or whatever. So that's what I started with. And from there, I started selling work. It was kind of unexpected that people wanted to buy stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a thing I'm going to do now. Okay. And I sold a few pieces, and then I again set a couple more goals and did some other things. And what I try to do at the end of the year is sort of assess what I've done for the year artistically and kind of, keep account. This last year, one of the big things was that I finished like 5 journals. And so I record that on my blog. So I sort of have that for posterity that, I've done these things this year. And then I kind of turn my eyes to the next year and go, okay, what do I want to tackle this next year? And this year, because last year was so intense with the show, this year I didn't set a whole lot of goals for myself. I did take on being part of Get Messy, the team of Get Messy. I am the mess maker coordinator, so I sort of manage the creative team for Get Messy. And then I'm also the community cheerleader, which I was kind of doing already, so it's nice to get paid for the thing that I was already doing. But you know, I love this community, and I love all of y'all. Y'all have been such a particular part of my story as I've worked through all the things that I've done. So it's just been the whole thing has been wonderful for me.
That's awesome. I really like that 365 creating thing is part of your story. That's so cool.
I know. And I've talked about Noah on Instagram, and he comes and he'll like a whole bunch of my stuff in a row. If I call him out by name, he'll come and like a whole bunch of stuff, but he won't follow me. And I'm like, come on, dude, come on. It's this close.
I mean, he's changed your life enough already.
Right. Well, you know, just I feel like he's been kind of a big part of my life, so it seems like, I don't know, whatever.
I want to talk more about that, because that part of your story, I really love it. I want to know, first question, what kept you coming back? Because that is a big one, you know, like there's so many people that start the 100-day project. That's 100 days. That's not 365. People can't even finish 30-day projects.
Well, and you know, last year I tried to do 30-day project and I totally failed. So, excuse me. I don't know. I just think it was part of it was the right time. Because I was having a sort of a big transition in my life already. I had been raising babies for a long time, and was ready to do something that looked different. So I kind of got this batch of time that had previously been filled up with you know, being with my kids all day. So when the universe puts something in your lap, sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I should take advantage of this. So the first year I was kind of hit and miss. I did a lot of days, but I didn't do every day. But I also gave myself just some grace and said, okay, I missed this day for whatever reason. I'll come back tomorrow and do it again. Like, just don't let a day or two or even 3 or 4, like, okay, so you fell off the horse 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 days. Jump back on and go again. And just say, you know, life happens. I mean, it does. I mean, you have kids, you have a family, you have stuff going on. Sometimes you just can't show up every single day. And that's okay, as long as you make a plan to come back. So that's what I did. I just tried to stay persistent with myself and say, you know, you need to go back and work. It helps that I have some dedicated space. I have half of a spare bedroom. My husband has the other half. He's got all of his junk over there. So I have some space to spread out and work, which is very helpful. And I definitely don't take that for granted. I used to really be aggravated about the tiny little bit of space that I have, because it's probably 10 by maybe 5. It's 10 this way and about 5 feet this way, my half. And you know, that seems like a little bit of space, but for someone who is working on their coffee table, that's a gob ton of space. And so I try to be really mindful of the fact that I have a lot of luxury in that I just have a little bit of space here to work.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good tip. Do you have other tips for people? I mean, like, not everyone has space. So if you don't have space, right, do you think that maybe like keeping a little tray full of stuff that you can always go back to?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everybody loves those Raskog IKEA carts. I have 2 loaded up, and then you can just, you know, you can move it around your house. You know, if you need to work at the kitchen table, you can put it in the closet and then pull it out when it's time to work, and have your supplies all right there. You know, I've heard people say they work on the coffee table, they work on the kitchen table, they work on the corner of their kitchen counter. They have a desk in their bedroom, like whatever, claim your space, even if it's, you know, this big, say, this is where I'm working. What's really funny is that my kids love to be in my space. They love to come in here and make things too. So I often have stuff drying on the other, I have another table over here. I have stuff drying and I have to, not only my kids, but my husband, I'm like, don't touch anything. If there are things laying out that look like they're wet, they probably are. Don't touch it. So that's kind of interesting too, is that once you start getting involved, the other people in your house are going to want to be involved too. So
it's so cute.
It's fun.
So your art style, so your art is behind you, correct? That's your work.
Yes, this is
Okay.
my,
Yeah.
okay, this is actually a collaboration I'm working on with my friend Renee. And she's done a lot of this and she's given it to me now to work on. It's actually not as dark as it looks here. There's a lot of green and pink. This is mine. I haven't decided if I'm finished. And then there's a couple other pieces that are in progress up there.
That's really cool. I think this leads very well to Divyam's question. She wants to know whether you have a vision of where you'd like to go with your art. Oh, no, wait, I misread this question. But we can talk about it as well. She's talking about like art in general. Do you have like a vision for where you want to go with your art? Or are you just kind of like with your 365 project where you just kept doing your art and then it eventually led you where you needed to be? So now that you like a bit more advanced in your art, do you have goals and stuff like that?
As far as the work itself, that shifts depending on what's happening. I love abstract stuff, so my stuff is going to be abstract with maybe some underlying meaning, and sometimes not. Like this gold and pink, there's no underlying meaning there. It's just me playing with color. I'm, you know, not making a social statement there of any kind. And Renee and I have talked about this one being some sort of alien invasion, so that might be a social statement at some point. But right now, it's just, again, it's a lot of colors. The kinds of goals I tend to set are things that I can measure. You know, I say, okay, I'm going to make X number of pieces this year, or I'm going to sell this number of pieces this year, or I want to achieve this many commissions this year. I try to make the goals that I set things that I can actually quantify, which when you're making art is sometimes kind of difficult, but it helps me stay accountable as I'm working through it. But the work itself, I just kind of go where it leads. My show was about sexism, which I was shocked that that's what it turned out to be. While women's issues, I hate that phrase because women's issues are people's issues, but we'll go with it in this situation. That's something I've been invested in for a long time. I previously was the president of the board of directors for a nonprofit international women's aid organization. So I have some background in, you know, looking at how women are kept down by society. And so for me, my show was sort of a natural extension of that. But it was still really big and scary because it's one thing to talk about aid internationally, then you get lots of head pats for that because you're a lovely Christian charitable lady. It's so nice. But when you start talking about issues affecting women in your own time and place, then people get a little more head up. They're not quite ready to listen to, oh yeah, this is not the way our society works, is maybe not beneficial for everyone. So that kind of push and pull I spent a lot of time with last year, and it was really wearing. I should have expected it, but I didn't. And so I spent a lot of time kind of coming to terms with the fact that I was working where previously I had been doing what I felt like was the same kind of work. But now it was in my more of a local sphere, and people didn't want to hear it. So it's interesting to me, but yeah, I kind of go where the work leads, which I don't know where that's going to be ever. That was long. Sorry.
This is long. You actually started answering another question there, but apparently we can answer 2 questions at the same time. So
sure.
This tech is great. It's like human tech. So with your like art in general, so that's like with your specific work and stuff, do you have like bigger art goals? Do you want to be on Netflix with your own art show? Like, do you have big lofty goals like that?
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know that I know how to dream quite like that. I'm very much of the kind of person that's like, okay, here's this opportunity. Do you want to jump on this opportunity that's available right now? Which is very much how I feel about Get Messy. Like, my husband and I talked a lot about when I came on at Get Messy, like, does this, sort of put me off track for anything else I want to do? And it's like, well, I don't know, maybe, but I really want to do this thing that's available to me right now. I don't want to miss this opportunity, because I think I'll be sad if I say I'm doing this other thing. I can't partake in this really fun thing that's right in front of me. So
I feel like that's like, but it's the same with like your work, is that you are kind of like hustle first, results later.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do the work and you put in the work, and then you see, oh, it's going this way. This is cool. And then you like build on that, and you like kind of like a snowball.
Right. So it's very opportunistic. Like, whatever is the thing that's in front of me that I want to try, I'm like, sure, let's do that thing. And again, I'm very aware of the fact that I don't have a job outside the house. So I'm able to do those sorts of things because of the freedom that, that I have because of that. And I don't take that for granted. Like, I get that. And sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a dilettante. Ooh, ow, that's a hard word. And then I'm like, well, I feel like I'm contributing in several different ways in several different places. So I try not to think about that word. It makes me antsy.
I'm trying to like do 2 things at once. Yeah, okay. So I want to talk more about your show. Firstly, hey guys, Misty had a show. You're legit, Misty.
It's so funny. I feel like I've talked about it so much, especially to y'all, that everybody's like, oh my gosh, Misty, shut up. Come on. No one cares anymore. It's over.
No, that's not, that's not true. It's so cool. Like, yeah, Charlotte also says in the chat, we all could just listen to you talk about it forever.
It was one of those things that I spent 10 months working on. I started in January last year. We hung the show at the end of October. And I laugh and say it was sort of like a birthing process, because it was like the right amount of time to birth something. And working on it, just during the time there was so much going on culturally in the United States, politically, and then having many conversations with women about their experiences and how that related to my show was really intense. And then I was also going through, because I had worked as the president of the board for the nonprofit, I was transitioning out of that role. And that was, all of those things were happening in August and September this last year. They're really intense. And so there were times in August and September last year where I was like, I can't see the other side of this. I don't know what it's going to, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And there was really a period of about 6 weeks where I was like, okay, I have to put my head down, show up every day and do the work. And I literally cannot think about what the other side is. Because it is so intense, I can't imagine it. And so I did work through that period. And by the time we got ready to hang the show, my mom came over. She lives out of state, and my mom drove over, and she really wanted to be there for that day, which was really fun. So she and I loaded all my stuff up, and we took it over to Low Mill, and it just had an amazing day in the space, in the gallery where I was. There's 6 galleries in the whole building. And so I had one of the main galleries where there's just a ton of traffic walking through. And so even just during the day that we were hanging it, interacting with the people that are coming and going, and having conversation with them about it, the day was just magical. I mean, honestly, it will be a day that I remember for the rest of my life. That all of the work that I had done, where I had no idea what it was going to be like, when we hung it on the walls there, it was beautiful. Like, it was just beautiful. I don't have another word. And I know that sounds really like, well, my work was really good. So awesome. But just being able to put it up and go, oh, it actually looks really good. Like, it had been hanging behind me for 10 months and I had no idea, none. So to be able to put it in the gallery and see it, this is really metaphorical, but see it in the light, because the gallery has a ton of light. I was like, oh, okay. So I came home from that day and I wrote a blog post about it because I wanted to remember all of the details. And I read it just not too long ago, and it made me cry, like, because I dedicate
back there.
Yeah, I dedicate the show at the end to all of the women who shared their stories, and to all of the women who couldn't share their stories, that had stories and just couldn't voice them. And so to read that again and kind of be back in that moment, I had to cry. Like, it was just amazing. So I feel deeply thankful that I got the opportunity to do it. And it was an amazing experience. So it was, yeah, I don't have enough words.
That's really beautiful. I think what I will do is, when I put the replay on, I'll just link to that blog post as well.
Oh, great. Yes, please do.
Everyone in the comments say Debbie is crying too now. Everyone's saying it's powerful. Your project fed all of us to connected us to our stories. Your show manifests the value of your creativity. Everyone's saying really nice things.
Aww. You're crying again.
So I've got a quick question from Debbie, and she wants to know if there are any pieces left from the show and where she can buy them.
Oh, yes, they're on my website. I think there are, I'm looking at them, they're sitting on the floor over here. I think there are 3 small ones left and 1 big one left.
Well, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm available for commissions too, so it's not like you have to have.
We'll have all of Misty's links in the replay down below, so if you're watching this later, we'll be able to have. Courtney wants a live auction. No.
I was really amazed that I honestly did not expect it to sell, because some of the pieces are so hard, and you'll not be shocked to know that those are the ones that are left, the really, really hard ones. And all of the pieces that are the girl's voice are all gone. And the ones that are left are the ones that are the men's voice talking. So
that's very cool. Well, we're also happy for your success. You deserve all the success.
Thanks.
Vanessa, I think she is sleeping at the moment, but she wanted to ask you, after working so hard on the pieces for your show, how did you deal with the absence of such a big project? So you were like saying like everything was awesome. What happened after that? How did you answer the now what?
There was definitely the letdown. It ran from October to I think the middle of December, and I went and we had to take everything down. And that was if you've ever done a wedding, if you've ever been a bride and you've done the run up to the wedding where your whole life is consumed with wedding planning, and then you get married and you leave and you get to the honeymoon and you go, what am I doing with my life now? It was exactly like that. Exactly like that. I woke up the next day and I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't know. And I deliberately didn't schedule anything because I knew I needed the mental rest. And I just said, the thing that is next will present itself. I don't have to run after it when I need to rest. And so I just deliberately didn't make any big plans. And I didn't set any big goals for this year on purpose because I wanted to just sort of take some time to think and process and play, because it was really intense. There wasn't a lot of play involved with the work I was doing. So I don't think I'm a particular, it's really funny because when I'm by myself, I'm a pretty serious person. When I'm with all of y'all, I'm my goofiest self. Y'all always see the silliest, funniest part of me, which you're welcome. So the work was really serious in a way that it was a little bit uncomfortable for me to maintain. So I knew that I was going to need some time to just be. So I kind of scheduled that. Again, luxury of not having to put food on the table. Again, I get that I get it. I get that I'm really blessed and have been able to work in this way.
Good answer. It's kind of like we have those, like the season of rest is just as important as the season of busyness.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a lot of questions. I feel like I can't even ask any of my own questions. Okay.
Yay! Okay. I'm so excited people want to know stuff.
I like this question by Claire. And what's pretty cool is that you can vote on questions. So I think for next time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through like the highly voted ones, like from top to bottom. Okay. So Claire's question, and she is leaving, so she can watch the replay for this. She says that she only really works in her journals. What advice do you have for going from journal kind of to making like an actual piece, inverted commas, which is standalone, not like in a book? She says she always like freezes when she like gets onto canvas or a more, I'm going to use the inverted commas again, important substrate, because obviously we all know art journals, like paper is as important, but yeah, there's that like mental barrier.
I'll tell you a secret. This is really funny. I'm really going to tell you my big secrets. Every time I move from one size or medium to another, I'm utterly paralyzed for a while, and I make crap. I make garbage, and which that's really not a big secret. Everybody knows you have to make garbage before you make good stuff. And you're just gonna have to make the garbage. You just are. And if that is working on paper for a while, I really like working on big mixed media paper, because if it's not something you want to have as a finished piece, you can cut it down and use it in a whole bunch of different ways.
Mm. That's such
When
a
I
good
was,
tip. Yeah.
yeah, when I was prepping for my show, I did a ton of practice pieces, and those practice pieces have been in a whole bunch of art journals where I've cut them down and either made a whole book out of them or cut out pieces and put them in a journal. So if you're working on kind of that 18 by 24 inch mixed media paper, then you can make postcards out of it. You can, rip it up and put it in your journal. You can make journals. You can do tons of stuff. So commit to the garbage because it's going to happen. And
Commit to the garbage.
yeah,
I'm going to make that the quote from this conversation.
commit to the garbage. Yeah, that's super positive.
I love it. Claire has a bit of a nice way to say it. She says, permission to make garbage granted.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I love it. So I want to ask a question about that as well. And Jessica's giving you permission. When we were having the artist date hangout last week, Jessica was there too. We were talking about, was it there? No, sorry, it was in the Facebook group. But we were talking about those of us, I'm not going to say who, it might be me, might not be, but those of us who have like a big piece of canvas hanging on the wall that's completely blank. We like, okay, I put mine up because I thought, okay, like if I'm looking at it every day, obviously it's going to make me want to paint it, but it has not. And I think I was Jessica in the Facebook group, but someone was saying that her mom, maybe it was Charlotte, her mom asked, oh, is this like a statement, an art-like statement, like is this deeper than just a blank canvas on the wall? Yeah, Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So my question about that is, how do I paint on it? Like, what would your, like, give me step 1, 2, 3 for putting something on my canvas?
So you could do a couple of things. One of the things that I really like to start with is building a color palette. And a lot of times if I'm thinking about colors, then I'll just take a page out of a book that's already got writing on it. So I don't have fear of the blank page, and just build my color palette. And when I say build, I mean a stripe of green, a stripe of lighter green, a stripe of yellow. Like, that is literally what it is. It's nothing fancy. And so then you have these, these big stripes, and if you need to cut it and kind of work with it, you can. But then you also have this palette of colors. And so once you've built your palette of colors, then just start with your favorite one on your canvas and just go big or go home. Like, pour it, or, squirt some water on it, and just do it. Like, there is a point where you have to just commit. And, at the end of the day, like, this isn't, nobody's going to starve. If you make a mess, no one's going to starve at the end of the day. You just have made a mess. Like, that's all it is. Maybe you've wasted $20, which, okay, yeah. But you've already spent the money, right? You've bought the canvas, you've bought the paint, you already have all of those things. So just do it. Just do it.
I love it. Everyone in the chat saying this is really, really helpful. Everyone says, okay, Misty says, so now we have to. And Emma's getting her canvas out right now. I love it.
Do it. Do it. I want to see it. One of the questions I read somewhere, and I think it's in there, they were talking about, what do I do when I get afraid? And there's been a couple of times in my life where I've really, since I started this, that I've really, really gotten kind of bitten by that terror. And I think it was probably maybe in my second year of Make Something Every Day that I went through about a month that I was like, nobody cares what I'm doing. Nobody's interested in this. It's all garbage. I need to sell everything that I have in this room and go find a new hobby, because no one cares. really no one cares. And so it was heartbreaking for me, and I was miserable, but I got to the place where I said, okay, no one else may care, but I care. And this fulfills me in a way that nothing else does. So, okay. No one cares. Okay. Like, I have no control over what everyone else is doing. So if I am fulfilling, if I am fulfilled and I feel good about myself, that is good energy to have in the world anyway. And
I love
if people,
that. Yeah.
I mean, if people show up, people show up. And if they don't, then I still feel good. Like, okay, that's a pretty good scenario to me.
Yeah. And you're right, like if you're feeling good, then you're putting that energy out into the world. So like that, it's not like a completely selfish thing.
Right. Well, and I think Charlotte, maybe somebody posted an article on the Facebook group just this week about the new studies they've done, looking at stress hormones and art making and people who make art.
Essie?
Maybe it was Essie. Somebody posted it. And it was just like the last couple of days. That people who make art for 45 minutes, their stress levels go down. And like everyone in our group knew this already. This isn't news for any of us. But still, you know, that scientific backing of we feel better when we lose ourselves in some self-expression. That's good. That's good for all of us to hear.
Yeah. Okay, so my baby's freaking out. Let's talk about your different types of creativity. Ooh. So who's this? Yeah, Charlotte asked us on Facebook, and she wants to know how you separate all your different types of creativity.
I don't know. I do a thing for a while until I get tired, and then I do another thing. I really like, when I first started Make Something Every Day, it was art and crochet. And so if you go back and look, I have both things. It's almost equal amounts of both of those activities. And I was doing some spinning for a while, drop spindles. You can spin your own yarn out of fleece. And I really enjoy that and have absolutely no time to do it. So it's one of those hobbies that I have in my closet that I'm like, oh, look at all the cool supplies I have that I never use. But I started crocheting about 8 years ago, and actually ended up on 2 mission trips overseas teaching women to crochet as sort of a micro enterprise project, which was really, really wonderful. So I love crochet, and I think it's one of those crafts that really bring people together. I love to crochet in public because people are always like, what are you making? What is that? What is that going to be? People get really jazzed about that in a way that is more accessible than art. A lot of times people, especially abstract art, people are like, oh, whoa, that's weird. I don't understand that. I can't engage with that. But crochet is like, oh, you've got a stick and some yarn. Like, what are you making? So I did that almost half and half when I first started. And then as the art started taking off, I started posting less and less crochet and yarn projects. Mm-hmm. And I've done less and less. If I look at over the years, because I keep track of all of my yarn stuff on a website database called Ravelry, where you can find patterns and keep track of your stash and keep track of your projects. And so I'm really kind of diligent about keeping up on my projects. And if you go back and look, like there was one year when I made 70 things, crochet things. And then last year I made 10. So that tells you about the level of what I'm working on. And the other part is that I've shifted to more and more of my day being in the studio. And I used to have more, I would spend some time in the studio, but then I would go and watch TV and crochet and hang out. And now if I'm at home, I'm in this room working. Pretty much if the kids are at school, this is where I am. I take 20 minutes and go eat my lunch in the kitchen and maybe, catch up on Facebook or read some news or whatever, and then I'm come back in here and work. Mm-hmm. So the level of my day has shifted dramatically, but I can tell when I'm starting to get burnt out and I'm like kind of casting around for the thing to do. I'm like, oh, I need to switch gears and work on something else. And so then that's usually when I pick up. Usually I crochet and spend some time because it's just a different, I'm still working with my hands, but it's a different part of my brain. So it lets the part of my brain that makes art rest, I guess. So just change it up, make different crafts. That's, I mean, there's no law that says you can't have lots of interests.
Well, I think it also goes back to like what we were saying about you kind of doing the work first and letting that lead you to where you need to be. So what do you do? Okay, this question's like twofold. So do you ever feel like you have too many ideas? How do you give the time and opportunity to each project? I think you've kind of answered this. And then also, what tips do you have to finish the project? So besides the fact that you're doing all these things, I mean, you obviously need to finish them. I think that's a problem, like with having so many things, is that they tend to be, and I know with like toddler Elliot, there's like, I've always got like unfinished projects lying all over me because I want to do all the things. How do you do that? How do you not get overwhelmed?
First of all, I try not to start things. I try not to start too many things. Because if your overall number is smaller, then the chances of you finishing everything is greater, at least in my mind.
It's great.
Yeah. So I try not to, if there's something that I want to start, then I try to just make a note of it and go, oh, here's an idea. But the other part of that is y'all think that I have all these ideas. I'm like, I don't have ideas. Like, I show up and stuff happens. Like, that is how it works. There's no like idea generator where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to make this thing. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way for me. So I feel kind of like a fraud in that way, that like I don't have a notebook full of ideas that I'm trying to get to. I really am. Again, it goes back to that being that opportunistic, looking at the thing that's in front of me and going, oh, this looks cool. Let's do that. And I credit my husband a great deal for that mentality, because I was a very timid person when we first got married. And I was afraid to do a lot of things. And he was very encouraging. He was like, you know, do it. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen. And so we would, for any given situation, we would go, okay, well, what is the worst that could happen here? Oh, okay, well, that's not that bad. Let's just do it and see what happens. And so he and I kind of play that. I guess that's encouraging. It's a weird kind of encouraging, but we play that back and forth and go, all right, well, you want to do it. Like, what are the logistics of making it possible for you to do the thing? And if they aren't that great, then let's just commit and do it. So,
I love it.
Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Got off on my dad.
I think so. I love it. Everyone, SE wants you to have a t-shirt that says I show up and stuff happens. So yeah, we're going to make you one of those shirts.
That makes it sound like the party can't start until I'm there, and I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
That's exactly what Courtney said. That is exactly what you said. The party don't start until Misty walks in.
That is not the case at all.
There are so many things, like, I feel like I'm a bit like, because I want to be writing all of this stuff down, because you're just saying so many wise things and stuff that's speaking to me, even like, and I know you.
That's what the replay's for.
I feel like I'm going to watch the replay, but I've got like a problem because I don't want to listen to my own voice. Oh,
you don't know how much it's killing me to not be able to read the chat. Like, I have the chat closed and it's killing me.
You can read it afterwards. Everyone's saying nice things to you. Jessica's saying FOMO. I feel like there's like art FOMO.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, this is getting long. Okay, but I think we can answer a few more questions and then we can start wrapping up.
Okay.
Jules wants to know why you are. Do you know that you're a great teacher? But okay, her question, let me read her question out because it's worded so well. I think Misty's an amazing teacher, but I'm surprised teaching isn't in her career past. Does she know she's a really great teacher?
Well, thanks.
So I know we spoke about this. So I think, yeah, you can talk about it to tell everyone.
It's really funny because I'm always like, oh, I want to have a class. Like, I want to make a class. And then I'm like, well, what do I teach? Like, I don't, like, I do a lot of stuff, but all I do is I'm like, well, you show up. Like, step one, show up.
But you see, that is
throw some paint on the paper.
That is the most difficult thing, Misty, is showing up. That is like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. But that's not something I can teach you. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can tell you all day long, but until you show up.
You mean there's like not like a magic app, you know, like the show up app, and you click and then look, oh, I showed up.
No, it's like any other thing. So my son, who's 14, started playing trombone when he was in 6th grade. And, that whole practice, you got to practice every day. We've been on that treadmill of you need to practice. And this year he's in 8th grade and he made 3 honor bands this in the spring term. And, the conversation we had is, do you know why you got in 3 honor bands? Because you've been practicing. Like, all of this time that you've spent doing all these things, this is your result. Like, I need you to get the direct line from practice to on all these honor bands. And that, I mean, I feel very much like the kinds of art that we all make is the same thing. It's just about showing up every day. Now, it has to be intentional showing up. Like, that's the other part, is it has to be like, I'm here, I'm in it, and maybe it's only 20 or 30 minutes, but I'm going to be in it for 20 or 30 minutes. And let me tell you, when you show up every day for 20 or 30 minutes making stuff, by the end of the year, you're going to have a stack of work. You just are. Now, I'm not saying it's all going to be great work, but you're going to have a stack of work where you go, look what I made. Like, I made all these things. So you just got to show up, and you got to do it for yourself.
I love it. I feel like we need to like put all your words with like Eye of the Tiger behind it. Like every time we want to.
Listen, my theme music is The Greatest Showman soundtrack. Like, that is now my theme music. That's what's playing in the studio on repeat. So you can get your own theme music. It's on iTunes.
I have my theme music at the moment is the Black Panther soundtrack.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I'm dying to go see it.
So great. So great.
Yeah. We'll get sidetracked on movies and TV now.
No. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to make these like questions kind of make sense in the way that we are answering them. So, okay, quick fire question. Who's your favorite doctor?
I've been thinking about that, and I make all these categories for ways to have a favorite. Doctor Who, the doctor on Doctor Who is who we're talking about. And I didn't watch any of the old Who. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not interested. I'm not ever going to go back and watch it. So if you're an old Who fan, I'm sorry. Enjoy that. I won't be there. So for New Who, when it got rebooted, we started at the beginning, and I didn't get really hooked until David Tennant. And then I had to go back and start over. Once we hit David Tennant, I was like, whoa, hold up. I need better backstory, because I'd only been my husband wanted to watch it, and I'd only been half paying attention. And I was like, no, we're stopping right now and going back to the beginning, and we're going to watch it. So we started over, and I watched it again, and I was like, oh, I get this. Okay, this is about adventure. Like, I get this now. And there's just so many wonderful themes in that show. Adventure is a huge one. And then, of course, there's sort of the whole Jesus complex of this guy saving the world over and over again. So I love David Tennant because I love David Tennant, but then probably my favorite run is Matt Smith and the Pawns. I really love the Pawns, and I loved Matt Smith with the Pawns. So yeah, I'm going to go with Matt Smith, but I'm also going to say that I am blissfully excited about the new Lady Doctor. So
yeah.
I'm willing to put a pin in that and say she'll be my favorite with almost no, like, it's not going to take a whole lot for her to be my favorite.
Okay. I don't know. Well, I watched the first 2 seasons. That's still with the, yeah. But that's all and I know that David Tennant was the Doctor. I watched him in Jessica Jones and I fell in love with him. I love him. So I've even watched him on it, and he's my favorite Doctor.
He's one of those people too that has, like, I feel like I have a lot of kinship with his story. Like, he watched Doctor Who when he was a kid, and he loved the show, and he was like, so when he became the Doctor, that was like this fulfillment of this lifelong dream for him. So I totally get that, and I get a lot of entertainment out of that part of the story. But then Peter Capaldi is the same way. He watched the Doctor as a child and loved it, and he felt like he was fulfilling his lifelong dream, becoming the Doctor too. So that's for the show to be on that long and to have that much mileage and longevity is impressive to me.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to answer 2 more questions and then we can wrap it up. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to all of these questions without it being a super, super long episode. But we're going to be doing Google Hangouts after this, an artist date. So if anyone wants to ask Misty anything directly, you totally got access to her.
In a way that you never have access to me ever, right?
Like
never around.
Only time ever. Okay, so let's talk about. Okay, you got to try and answer this quickly. So you use a lot of jelly prints. So let's talk briefly about jelly prints, and that can lead very organically into Courtney's question about what are some of the original, unique, weird things that you've used in your art journal.
Okay, so jelly prints, I was actually looking, I looked at that question, and I use them all kinds of ways. So here's actually a book that I've made that is a jelly printed cover that I made. And it has, maybe it has some jelly prints in it. So, you can use them however you want. I tend to cut them up a lot. This is my Season of Connections journal, and I actually jelly printed directly onto the cover of this book, just because it was a magazine, and I really wanted to work in this magazine, but the cover was, not cool enough. So I jelly printed directly onto that. And this is a book that I experimented in a lot. I actually jelly printed. This was a good experiment book for me, actually, the whole thing, lots of different ways. This is a multi-layered jelly print. And if you can see, this was the original artwork in this magazine. And I wanted to copy it. And so I did layers. So each of these colors on this page was a layer on the jelly print, on the jelly plate that I just kept putting color down and then pulling a print and putting color down and pulling a print. So that was kind of an unusual experiment, but I like the way it turned out. So, make prints on your jelly plate, make as many as you like, and then just have them on hand to tear up. Sometimes you just need a little splash of a color. And if you have a jelly print that has that color on it, then you're using something that isn't a piece of scrapbook paper. Not that I'm opposed to that. I use a ton of scrapbook paper. But it's just, it's something you've made, another layer of something you've made in the work. And then the next question was the most unusual thing I've used in a journal. I don't know. My Season of Nature book is made out of a piece of resin that my friend Renee, she does resin jewelry, and she basically did a flub, and it was this big monster pile of resin that she let dry, and then she pulled up and cut, and it just folded. I don't have the book here with me. It's out on loan. And she cut it, and I had it for like a couple of months, and was, speaking of fear, I was really afraid to do anything with it. And then I was like, what am I afraid of? Like, it's a piece of trash. What am I tearing up here? So I had to go get a Dremel tool, which we have one, but I had no idea where it was. So I had to find the Dremel tool. And then I had to figure out how to use the Dremel tool because I'd never done that before. And then I drilled holes in it so that I could bind it. And so I bound the resin pieces into a book. And that became my Season of Nature journal, which I wish would have photographed better. Like, I have a ton of pictures of it, but you can't, I mean, the cover's basically transparent. And so you get these really lovely swirls of the copper mica in the transparency. And so it's much more, luminous and bright in person than if you're looking at it on a picture, which is sort of the hazard of all my work. All my work looks better in person. P.S. If anything that I make looks better in person than it does online, like across the board. Like, wow, that's really flat. That's disappointing. But it's just the nature of the kind of layered work that I do, that when you take a picture, it just flattens everything down, and you can't see the texture. You can't see the light. You can't move it and see the light hit it. So, just everyone know that my stuff looks at least 30% better in person.
It's like, yeah. Okay. Also, like, you used your face in your art journal. I think that should also count.
Well, I got a giant jelly plate for Christmas. And Courtney dared me to do my face. And I did my face, and I did it in, of course, the hot pink, fluorescent pink, which is, cancer causing. Like, they won't sell it in California because it's cancer causing. But I was like, sure, I'll stick my face in that, whatever. And that was kind of an internet lark. That was actually on January 1st. I did that the first day of this year. And I was like, well, at least I'm starting out with a thing this year. Sure. And then I felt like I needed to put that disclaimer of, don't stick your face in paint. Like, don't do that. Like I'm your mom or something. But I mean, stick your face in paint if you want, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Okay. Answer this quickly. What is your favorite West Wing episode? And that's from Charlotte.
I had to look that up, Charlotte, because I didn't know the name of it. But my favorite West Wing episode is Two Cathedrals, which is the episode immediately after Mrs. Landingham dies. And Jed Bartlett goes to the church and basically shouts at God. So that I had to look it up again. I had to go back and look it up. That episode aired in May 2001. Which was, a few months before September 11th. And it was really powerful to me to see. I've been a Christian for a long time, but I had never really thought about people being angry at God in the way that he was angry at God in that episode. And it was really powerful for me to see him wrestle with his grief and his anger at God over the loss of this trusted, longtime friend of his. It was really, really powerful for me, and probably set me on my path. It's probably one of the first sets of for me personally of sort of working out and deconstructing the faith that I had as a child and coming to terms with my faith that I have now. And I really, Aaron Sorkin, I don't think Aaron Sorkin is a Christian that wrote that episode. He grew up Jewish. Like, I don't know that, he has a particular dog in that fight, but Martin Sheen really insisted that Jed Bartlett be a Catholic, particularly because Martin Sheen is a very faithful Catholic. And so I just really, really love that episode. It's really powerful to me.
Mm. Awesome. Okay. So we can end on that question. There are a few.
That's a weird question to end on.
I know. But I do want to keep this within the time limit. We're completely out of the time limit, but whatever. There are a few more questions there. You can go in, Misty. You can go in, I think, and just comment on them and give a brief answer on them.
Okay.
So that
I'll be happy.
But some of them, I think, like, we answered pretty much in the entire chat. So we can close this up. Let me figure out how to do this. Okay. So I want to say thank you, firstly, to Misty, because you are awesome and we love you so much. And thank you to everyone who came today and who shared their voice and who asked questions and who cheered you on, Misty. I think it's such a beautiful thing for everyone to do. And yeah, thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for inspiring everyone to action all the time. Thank you for being you, bringing your light to all of us. And it's been such an honor to chat to you. Such an honor that you work for Get Messy now, officially. Yeah, and if anyone wants to keep chatting, then we are going to go into a hangout after this, and Misty will be there. We're bringing snacks. No, just jokes. You have to make your own.
Make your own snacks.
Yeah, bring your own snacks. But yeah, if you've never joined a Get Messy hangout before, you don't have to, it's not... I mean, it can be as awkward as you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be an awkward thing. You can just join us and sit there and say nothing. That happens a lot. So join at whatever level you're comfortable with. If you just feel like listening to people chat while you make an art journal, while you don't do your art journaling, whatever, join us. Oh, the link. I should probably share the link. We'll share the link in the chat. I think the chat carries on after this. If not, you can see it in the Facebook group. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, Misty.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys in the hangout. And now I need to figure out how to stop.
How to turn it off.
Super awkward. There we go. Okay. Bye, guys.